Good afternoon, and thank you for attending here to the press conference. Firstly, I'd like to thank the media for their assistance that they've provided us, the Homicide Squad, on countless occasions over the past number of years. It's been very fruitful, and it assists our efforts in investigating these very serious offenses. As a result of these efforts, we've obtained information from the public on a number of investigations. The information has been given to the investigators, and it's allowed them to move their investigations forward in a positive way. I've asked you to come here today so that I can update you on the advancements made on homicides 27 and 28 for 2016 that occurred on the weekend. In addition, Detective Andy Singh of the Homicide Squad will speak to you in relation to homicide number 11 for 2016, and he's going to provide you with a bit of an update on that. Firstly, on Friday, April 29th, 2016, at approximately 9:47 p.m., members of Number 41 Division responded to the LCBO, which is located at 85 Ellesmere Road, for a report of a shooting. Upon their arrival, they discovered two individuals, a male and a female, that had been shot numerous times as they sat in the rear of their vehicle. Both victims were transported to an area hospital. There was emergency treatment rendered, and as a result, both of these individuals died as a result of their injuries. They have been identified as Joseph Anzolona, 25 years of Toronto, and Cynthia Mullapudi, 24 years of Markham. Homicide investigators under the direction of Detective Sergeant Gary Drew attended the scene and commenced an investigation. As a result, I'm able to advise you that the deceased persons attended the LCBO at that location with two other friends to make a purchase. Joseph Anzolona and Cynthia Mullapudi were seated in the rear seat of the vehicle, and their male and female friends were sitting in the front of the car. Mr. Anzolona and the female passenger from the front seat went into the LCBO to make a purchase. When Anzolona and the female left the LCBO, Anzolona got into the rear seat and the female got into the front passenger seat of the vehicle. Within a very short period of time, a lone gunman approached the vehicle, opened the rear door, and fired numerous rounds into the seat area in the back of the vehicle, striking Anzolona and Mullapudi numerous times. The male then fled the area. The Integrated Guns and Gangs Task Force, Intelligence Services, Number 41 Division, and the Homicide team worked on this investigation from its onset. As a result of this collective investigative effort, I can advise you that the alleged gunman has been arrested by members of the Integrated Guns and Gangs Task Force in relation to this homicide. This arrest took place on Sunday, May 1st, 2016 at 7:30 p.m. And the now accused was arrested and taken into custody. He has been identified as Harris Nane. The surname is spelled N-N, that's double N-A-N-E, 24 years of Toronto. He has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. This individual appeared in Toronto East courts today in answer to the charges, and he was remanded into custody. I'm going to appeal to the public. If you're in the area of the LCBO located at 85 Ellesmere Road on Friday evening just prior to 9:47, and you have information in relation to this homicide, I'm asking you to contact my investigators. We are also asking that anyone that may have video, still photographs, or security footage from the area that evening to also contact my investigators. I can advise you that there has been and continues to be a great deal of cooperation from the members of the public that were in the area at the time of the murder. As a result, I'd like to formally thank those individuals for their coming forward and participating in this investigation, as you provided a great assistance to my investigators, which enabled this case to be drawn to a successful conclusion at such an early stage. As I've said so many times in the past, we seek and require the assistance of the public to solve violent crime. The type of behavior erodes at the public's perception of safety where they live, work, and play. It is for this reason that individuals that have knowledge of the homicide or any other violent crime should come forward and share that with the investigators so we can move forward on some of these investigations. It is important that we do this to ensure public safety. I can also advise you that since we have been making strong appeals to the public for information in relation to violent crime, the level of cooperation from the public has increased, both directly and through Crime Stoppers. And I've noticed a significant increase in Crime Stoppers and information coming into my investigators. Anyone who has information on this homicide investigation is to contact Detective Sergeant Gary Giroux at 416-808-7400, extension 77387. You can also contact the Crime Stoppers at 416-222-TIPS, and that is 8477. Your information may be valuable to our investigation and may be all that's required in order for us to solve an investigation and bring charges against those offenders and bring them to justice. Now, I will attempt to answer your questions at the conclusion of the press conference. However, please bear in mind that I will not get into the details or the minutiae of the evidence, as the investigation is currently before the courts. Now, as it relates to Homicide 11 for 2016, I'll start off by saying that on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016, at approximately 7:02 p.m., members of Number 22 Division responded to a call for an unknown trouble. This call was centered around the address of 551 the West Mall. When the officers arrived on scene, they discovered the lifeless body of the deceased, Syed Keeley, 17 years. He was suffering from an apparent stab wound. I would like to introduce Detective Andy Singh of the Homicide Squad to you. He's the primary investigator on this, and that he would like to provide you with an update on that case at this time.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm here today to discuss some details about this investigation as well as share some new information in the hopes of identifying the persons responsible for this homicide. As mentioned earlier, on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016, Syed Keeley died as a result of a stab wound. The events, as we are aware of today, unfolded prior to 7 p.m. when Syed, accompanied by two of his friends, met with the two suspects in the area of 551 the West Mall. Shortly after they met, there was an altercation which resulted in Syed being stabbed. His two friends were not injured as a result of this altercation. What I'm prepared to share today is surveillance footage we have obtained from the immediate area of this incident. The first clip, which I'll show you here, it's a surveillance camera from 551 the West Mall. It captures two males running towards the camera view, and I want to draw your attention to the male on the right, who I'm going to refer to as suspect number 1. The male who's in the highlighted area of the camera, that's suspect number 1. And the male you see to the left of the suspect number 1 is the deceased, Syed Keeley. And as this plays, you'll see that Syed runs to the front of 551 the West Mall, pursued by suspect number 1. In the second clip, if you could pause it there, what we see is two individuals, and these are suspect number 1 and 2. Suspect number 2 can be discerned with his lighter pants as he's walking behind suspect number 1. They're both in the process of walking to the front of 551 the West Mall. And as this video plays, you'll see that the suspect number 2 runs past suspect number 1, and they go to the front of 551 the West Mall. And finally, in the next clip, you're going to see our suspect vehicle, which is proceeding westbound on Rathburn Road when it was leaving the area. We believe this vehicle to be a 4-door Honda Civic, gray in color. Both our male suspects can be described as being male brown skin in their late teens. They're 5'8" to 5'10", dark hair, thin build. We're asking for the public's assistance in helping us identify the two suspects seen on video here that are responsible for the homicide of Saeed Keeley. We're also requesting any information in regards to the suspect vehicle that you've just seen in the video footage. And we're still appealing for witnesses that may have been present to see the events transpire out front of 551 the West Mall. We're encouraging these witnesses who haven't spoken to us yet, to contact Homicide Squad at 416-808-7400, and they can reach me directly at extension 77391. Or if they choose, they can also call Crime Stopper Tips at 222-TIPS. To the suspects in this matter, I encourage you to do the right thing, contact a lawyer, and turn yourself in. You can make these arrangements with me directly, as I mentioned, at 416-808-7400, extension 77391. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Detective, maybe you could just sort of chronologically put things together in terms of the video footage. When there are two clips here, there's one of the suspect, number one, I think referred to him as chasing the victim. Does that come before or after we see the two suspects walking in the frame?
So it's chronologically presented now. So this occurs first. Suspect number one pursues the victim, Saeed, and then after that, which is a clip that we have not included for brevity, but is the suspect number one leaves, but he comes back with the second suspect, and then they both go to the area where Mr. Keeley is found eventually.
Now, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but Mr. Keeley was with somebody else, and then the victim, Mr. Keeley, and his friend who was with met the two suspects. Is that right?
That's correct.
What was the meeting about?
So I do have some information in regards to that, but at this point I'm not going to elaborate on that. Again, I can't comment on that, but what I can tell you is this was not a random encounter. This was a prearranged meeting. But in terms of what the meeting was about, I'm not prepared to elaborate on that today.
The victim was stabbed in the chest, correct?
Again, I can only indicate that the victim was stabbed.
How many times?
And I won't comment on the amount of times, but I can tell you that he was stabbed, and that was the result of his death.
Detective, does this have even any loose connotations to being gang-related in terms of this killing?
No, we have no information at this point to indicate this was gang-related.
None of these, the person was not known to police for any involvement that way?
No, he was not.
Was the victim known to police for anything?
At this point, I have no information to indicate that.
What about the friend he was with?
I'm not going to comment on somebody who is associated with the investigation that is still active, but we have spoken to them, and that's as far as I'll elaborate at this point.
How well would you say that the victim knew his two assailants?
Again, in regards to the relationship, I'm not prepared to elaborate on that, but what I can tell you is that they were known, and the fact that they had arranged a meeting. However, that's as far as I can share with you at this point.
Are there any other questions, even about 27 and 28?
I have a question for Greg on the 27 and 28. Greg, you mentioned that the guns and gangs were involved in helping you make this quick arrest.
Yes.
For dealing with that. So what was it, was there anything you can talk about that led you to believe that this was a gang-related killing at the start? Was it a victim or a tip that you got, or?
No, it's very customary for us to work hand in hand with our integrated guns and task force, intelligence, and other support units throughout the whole service. Obviously, the fact that it was a firearm-related homicide, the Guns and Gangs Task Force falls within their mandate. So there's nothing unusual about this. The investigation, because of the effort put forward, was advanced very quickly. The information they got was able to be substantiated through investigative steps, and it brought us to this very quick resolve.
You probably can't answer this one, but whether or not the weapon was recovered in this, and we saw the other night down at Fort York, could have very easily been another, the gang shootout, could have very easily been more homicides taking place. Have you got any more concerns? Are we getting help from the public on dealing with all the guns that are out on the streets? Do you need more help from the public on that? Have they been helpful?
We can always use more help. As it relates to firearm offenses, we're not usually a recipient of that type of information that would go to other divisions or the Integrated Guns and Gangs Task Force. However, information on fire-related homicides would come directly to us by way of phone calls to my investigators or through Crime Stoppers tips. There's a larger incident of firearm-related offenses to date this year, as we all know. We all read the newspapers. Some of us write them. We always are concerned when we see an escalation in gun violence like this. A lot of times it ends up in a homicide investigation. Yes, there's a lot of street gangs out there. I would suggest that street gang members and even non-street gang members, drug dealers, lifestyle people that live this criminal lifestyle carry guns. They don't seem to be too concerned about carrying their guns in our communities. They do it willingly. They seem to have them readily available, as before they would have them in a place or on another person, like a girlfriend, that may be transporting their guns for them, but now they're carrying them, and it's clear to me that they're oblivious to being stopped by the police. They don't seem to be too concerned about carrying their guns, and that's a grave concern to myself, my investigators, and also our folks at Integrated Guns and Gangs. So guns are a problem, and it's going to be a bigger problem. So we're doing what we can. We're very proactive in our efforts to eliminate and try to eradicate gunplay. I don't know why these incidents escalate to the point where there's a need for gunfire and shooting of people. But again, I can't rationalize irrational acts. So it's something that we're concerned about. And as you can see from the results of this investigation, we're successful in our efforts when we work collaboratively together to bring these through to a good resolve. So we'll have to see what time brings and what we have to deal with in the future. But it is a concern.
The suspect and the two victims in this case, were they known to police prior to today, or on the weekend, sorry?
The male deceased was known to us. The female is a student, not known to us.
And the accused?
The accused is known to us.
So you'll have to forgive me, I'm playing a bit of catch up on this, you may have answered this already, but the male victim was targeted, the female victim was wrong place, wrong time, just innocent bystander, is that right?
I think that's a more likely scenario. I thought there's further investigation that has to take place as to motivation. I don't want to speak to you about motivation right now because it's going to be before the courts, but I would suggest that him being the target of this would be more likely than her.
Was this a gang thing, drugs?
We're still looking into motive, and as you know, it's very early in the investigation. We were just very fortunate to put the person we believe responsible in jail and get them off the streets, and now we're going to do all the follow-up investigation that we would typically do.
Speaking of the person now in custody, is he a gang member?
Yes.
Of what? What gang?
I'm not going to get into that. These are things that need to be proven in court.
Where would he operate in this gang? Scarborough area, somewhere else?
They operate everywhere. The gang members in this day and age are very mobile.
You know, the Galloway boys operate in a very specific area, you know?
Yeah, but if I tell you that, then I can answer the question I wouldn't answer before. So no, I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just going to say that gang members are very mobile in this day and age, and they're very active throughout the whole Greater Toronto area and other cities. Investigations have taken us to all points across Canada.
You were saying that multiple shots were fired. How many times was the male victim shot?
I'm not going to answer that question.
You know, victim shot how many times?
I'm not going to answer that question. It's an evidentiary. There's an evidentiary value to that. That'll come out in court. All I can say is they were shot multiple times. That's it. Thank you.